Warm greetings from the High 10. It is Everyday Shenanigans on this Monday, February 24th, 2020. Thanks for joining me. I'm going to bring you a story pertaining to Mr. Harvey Weinstein. He was found guilty today in criminal court, and the said information is brought to you by CNN. Harvey Weinstein faces at least 5 years in prison after jurors convict him of a criminal sex act and rape. Harvey Weinstein was found guilty Monday of committing a criminal sex act in the first degree involving one woman and rape in the third degree involving another woman. The disgraced movie mogul faces a minimum of 5 years and a maximum of more than 2 decades in prison. He was handcuffed and taken into custody after the New York jury's verdict. Manhattan District Attorney Cyrus Vance Jr. credited 8 women who spoke out against Weinstein during the trial: Dawn Dunning, Miriam Haley, Jessica Mann, Annabella Sciorra, Terrell Wolfe, Lauren Young, Megan Hash, Joan Eluzzi. These are the 8 women who changed the course of history in the fight against sexual violence, Vance said after the verdict. Rape is rape, whether it's committed by an indigent person or a man of immense power, prestige, and privilege. Weinstein's lawyers say they will appeal the jury's finding. While he was not convicted on the most serious charges, we are disappointed in the verdicts and will be filing an appeal, said a statement on behalf of attorneys Donna Rotono and Damon Sharonis. There are issues in this trial that were extremely troubling, and they prejudice Mr. Weinstein's ability to have his case fairly judged. These will be addressed to a higher court. The attorneys also said they are working on assuring that Weinstein is brought to an infirmary and placed in protective custody at Rikers Island, New York City's main jail complex, so that he can get the best medical supervision and care possible. Jurors deliberated for 5 days. The jury acquitted Weinstein, 67, on the more serious charges of predatory sexual assault involving the 2 women, Miriam Haley and Jessica Mann. In doing so, jurors indicated that they did not find beyond a reasonable doubt that Weinstein had also raped actress Annabella Sciorra, another alleged victim whose testimony prosecutors used in an attempt to establish Weinstein's predatory behavior. Jurors deliberated for more than 26 hours over 5 days before reaching a verdict Monday morning. A motion for a mistrial by the defense earlier Monday was denied. When the verdict was read, jurors did not appear to look at Weinstein and may have been avoiding making eye contact with anyone. It's not clear exactly how many years in prison Weinstein faces. Sentencing is scheduled for March 11th. For the charge of criminal sex act in the first degree, he faces a minimum of 5 years and a maximum of 25 years in prison. For the charge of rape in the third degree, he essentially faces no minimum prison time and a maximum of 4 years. Actress Ashley Judd, who accused Weinstein of sexual harassment, lauded the women at the center of the New York case. For the women who testified in this case and walked through traumatic hell, you did a public service to girls and women everywhere. Thank you, Judd tweeted. But Weinstein's criminal cases aren't over. He also faces charges of sexual assault and rape in separate incidents in Los Angeles. Weinstein has denied allegations of non-consensual sexual activity related to the other women. How the case unfolded. Weinstein was charged with first-degree criminal sexual act, 2 counts of rape, and 2 counts of predatory sexual assault. The charges are based on Haley's testimony that Weinstein forced oral sex on her in 2006 and Mann's testimony that he raped her in 2013 during what she described as an abusive relationship. 4 of the women, including Sciorra, also testified that Weinstein sexually attacked them as prosecutors sought to show that he used his power in the movie industry to prey on young, inexperienced women. Sciorra's testimony that he raped her in the winter of 1993 to 94 is outside of the statute of limitations, but could have been used to support the predatory sexual assault charges, which requires serious sex crimes against at least 2 victims. Weinstein's defense attorneys argued that the sexual encounters were consensual. As evidence, they pointed out that they that both Haley and Mann had sex with Weinstein after the alleged attacks, and they continued to have friendly contact with him for years afterward. The verdict marks a new era of justice. The women's testimonies highlighted questions about consent and power dynamics, questions that rarely, if ever, have been tested in a courtroom. A wave of accusations against men abusing their power ensued in what are now called the Me Too and Time's Up movements. Tina Tshin, president and CEO of the Time's Up Foundation, said the verdict marks an important turning point. This trial and the jury's decision today marks a new era of justice, not just for the silence breakers who spoke out at great personal risk, but for all survivors of harassment, abuse, and assault at work, Tshin said in a statement. Once an acclaimed producer of movies such as Shakespeare in Love and Pulp Fiction, Weinstein was accused by multiple women of a wide range of sexual misconduct in stories published in October 2017 in the New York Times and the New Yorker. Deborah Katz, an attorney for Dawn Dunning, who testified against Weinstein, said Monday afternoon that Weinstein belongs in prison. Harvey Weinstein has hurt dozens and dozens of people by his sexual, predatory, rapist, violent behavior, and today there can be no other discussion other than Harvey Weinstein exactly where he should be, Katz said. Douglas Wicker, attorney for Terrell Wolf, who also testified against Weinstein at the trial, said that while Monday's verdict was significant, Weinstein's behavior has done damage to his clients and others. While he's being convicted, he cannot undo the harm that he's caused to so many victims. Today will be some load of relief for all the survivors, he said. CNN's Holly Van, Brian Vitagliano, Eric Levinson, and Lisa Respers France contributed to this report. If you need verification for the said information, please log on to CNN News. I'm going to bring you some information I got from the Seattle Times earlier, and as I stated, he was found guilty on 2 lesser charges. The jury held out longer trying to deliberate the charges that were brought forth by Miss Annabella Sciorra. And I was curious to why, or what she said that held them to deliberate so long, and that's when the judge sent them back to deliberate because he wanted them to come up with a verdict. They were deadlocked, basically. Okay, the lawyers basically said these women, 2 women, bedded him after the fact, which some of you and myself was curious. Why would you still have contact or text with him thereafter if he allegedly raped you? I could see that being a problem, but as you see, they found him guilty on 2 lesser charges. So I was very surprised because I thought, woo, perhaps that would sway the jury, that they're showing tweets or conversations thereafter. But one basically said, she felt like, with his attitude, his anger, she didn't know what he would do, Jekyll and Hyde, that has been said, and she felt like she didn't want him to think that she was a threat. So, new charges in LA, 1 rape and 1 sexual assault. 1 is back-to-back. One of the sexual assaults, rapes, was during the Oscars of 2013. That's the LA charge that's coming up. And this lady also, who got assaulted by him in 2013 during the Oscars, did testify in the New York trial. There was a total of 90 women alleging abuse against Mr. Weinstein, and most were too old to prosecute. Most of you probably noticed if you saw pictures of Mr. Weinstein. He looked very disheveled and frail and leaning over on a walker. He has lost a lot of weight. He looks really, really bad. Really, really bad. We can only imagine what he looks like without clothes on, because from what has been said, he doesn't look really nice down there. Shut your mouth. Okay. Craziness. There was also mentioning of him taking an injection to get an erection. That was mentioned also during this trial. And this lady by the name of Haley had sex with him 2 weeks after her alleged rape with him. That was also mentioned during the trial. And I'm just sitting here thinking to myself, a lot of these assaults were oral sex, and that says a lot about him, because that makes me think that he possibly could not get an erection, because why is everyone claiming he performed or forced oral sex on them? That's just weird to me. A man, I mean, raping is wrong anyway, but it's just like a lot of that has been mentioned in this trial, that he performed oral sex on a lot of the women. So obviously he could not get an erection. Possibly he didn't have anything to work with, so that's all he could do is perform oral sex on the women. Don't mean to be graphic, but it's very, very crazy to me. I guess it's my said information. And that information I brought you is from the Seattle Times. But as you see, he was found guilty of the two lesser charges. He has other charges stemming out of Los Angeles. So I don't know if he will get let go free New York. But as you see, he's gone to New York jail, so possibly not. He will have to stand trial in Los Angeles, so he'll be sent over there to the West Coast to stand trial for those two said cases there, and we will see how this pans out. But this is probably a mess. This is a messed up situation. I always say this about men who have these type of crimes, such as R. Kelly, whomever. You can bond out, get out over here. It won't matter. You're still facing another charge over here, over here, over here. So that's all you'll be doing is bonding out. One place to go to the next place. And then if you're remanded in the next place, then you paying the bond over here didn't mean anything. He got away with this for years. They whispered about it. They talked about it. Some men probably even joked about it. Hey, that's Harvey. But as you see, he's bankrupt. I just read that. He's bankrupt. He had a company with his brother that he started, the Miramax. And $25 million has been paid out to the victims. And he feels like as long as he didn't have to admit to, he wouldn't admit to any assaults against the women. But why would you have your company pay, the insurance company pay the women $25 million if you were innocent? That's still an extension of you, your company. So you feeling like you're not pulling out the money directly out your pocket means you're innocent. But that company you started with your brother is an extension of you. You own the company with your brother. So the fact that the insurance company is going to pay $25 million to these victims, to me, means you're guilty. Why pay out if you're innocent? That's stupid. A forensic psychologist said some of the women probably kept contact with Mr. Weinstein because they felt like it was an aberration, which I don't know if that's a big word. Maybe that means basically trying to pretend it never happened. But this is crazy. And I just think this is really sad. A very sad situation. And there were text messages and alleged things that this Haley lady sent to him saying, "I love you, always do, but I hate feeling like I'm a booty call." That was mentioned in the trial. And she broke down, I guess, when his attorneys were cross-examining her. And she was saying she was afraid of his unpredictable anger. I believe I went along, I guess, with everything to keep seeing him because I didn't want him to think I was a threat. So as you see, Mr. Weinstein found guilty. 2 new cases stemming out of Los Angeles. So next he'll be going to Los Angeles to face those charges. And only God knows where that will lead. But for now, he has been remanded to Rikers Island. And we will see what happens next pertaining to Mr. Harvey Weinstein. Prayers to these women. And it's a good thing he's off the street. He won't be willing and dealing and blackmailing and bribing other women. Because obviously this was his thing. He liked inviting women to the casting couch. Or better yet, forcing them down on the casting couch. And one thing we know about people like him, there's no guarantee that you would get a role in anything. Once he got what he want, you're damaged goods to him. He's a narcissist like so many other men. He didn't give a damn about those ladies. He didn't give a damn about anybody. And I'm really shocked that the woman who married him, the last lady he was married to, I don't know how many times he's been married, but she was a beautiful lady. And the first thing I thought when this stuff first jumped off years ago, I thought, what in the hell did she see in him? He don't look like nothing. And from what they're saying about him underneath those clothes, Fat Boy was a disgrace and a stinky hot mess. Go figure. Like and share. Drop your comments below. Thanks for joining me. And until the next video, this is Everyday Shenanigans. Bye-bye.